Yo, yo, yo. Another week of football back with the boys. Third and Schlong. Bruce, you kill what is it? You kill Bill Walsh?
Yep.
Mhm.
Throwback.
Another fun week. We didn't have any any college last night, but we do got a couple games tonight. Interesting slate tonight, too. We're not going to talk about that one. But another Saturday slate. We got Third and Schlong joining us from overseas as well to bring the winners from a different country, which is always good mojo. Let's start with Schlong. What's going on this week? How's it going over there?
It's good. Good. 30th. Both our families are from Sicily, so we were in Sicily for the weekend. Mom and sister tagged along, so they're out. It's 8 o'clock here. They're out shopping. I think they're getting dinner. Just gave my wife the credit card. Told her to go have fun. So we'll see. We'll see what the damage is afterwards. But excited to play the slates this weekend. Was able to rag this, like main NFL, like just the big ones. Got a big NASCAR qualifier this weekend. So I think those three are the ones I'm playing.
I was laughing too on your Twitter post when I forget who responded, but they were like, "I love how Gary, Indiana, or something looks."
Yeah,
I loved it on the one.
a little different from Sicily on the water. I was gonna do the show outside because it's so like nice and calm during the day, and then like we had just gotten here and it's Friday night and the whole place is like lit up, like everyone's like outside like yelling, having a good time, like cars and buses are driving by, like it's super loud. So I was like, well, we need a plan B. So I have a little makeshift room or
The
desk in a
funny
room.
thing is, it looks perfect. It looks like a great backdrop. And you said the
Well, I
internet-
tried to like choose the cool wall because we have like a little suite. So it's like my mom and sister are staying in like the other room. My wife and I are staying in this room. So yeah, no,
honestly, looks like a professional setup. Like where
it's a
you're
better
at,
setup than I
good.
expected it. The only thing is the hotel Wi-Fi blocks DraftKings for some reason. So you can hotspot in and whatnot, but they don't block FanDuel. So I guess they're pro FanDuel in Italy, or at least at this
They're
hotel
not
chain that
DK
we're staying
partners
at.
over there.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Definitely not DK partners. I tried to log on. You just get like this white screen that's like not supported. Even if you try and use the app on your phone, if you're on the Wi-Fi, it's like it like redirects you to like, oh, you can't like access this like
That's
app or
brutal
site.
for like sweating purposes.
Well, I mean, you have good cell service here. It's not like we're out in the middle.
You're
of
not
nowhere.
even going to
Like
use the Wi-Fi
no,
when you're in there.
no, I'm not even going to use the Wi-Fi. I'll just hotspot it all. But for streaming, like the hotspot's kind of iffy, so it just works better this way.
Bruce, what about you? Fired at 87 earlier. Solid 87 to start the weekend, right? What's going on?
Yeah, it's good to get the week off on the right foot for sure. Had a rough week last week. Man, too much Jonah Coleman for sure. They just don't give him the ball enough, man. And then we had Milrow and a lot of lineups that helped, but just not enough to overcome. And then Rocket Sanders went off for us, kind of our low-owned guy. But yeah, it was a rough week. Looking forward to bouncing back this week. Solid slates for sure.
Yeah, it looks a little different than the past couple of weeks too, where there's not as many just total lock. There is some really good plays that are going to get high owned, but the last couple of weeks we've had like last week at running back, there was just an absurd amount of really good plays. And then obviously if you didn't have the Minnesota guy, you were in big trouble when he just absolutely nukes in the afternoon.
Yeah, Coleman over Taylor was not fun.
And let's be honest, it was a coin. Like you could have picked either way. Like I don't care what anyone says.
I still think Coleman was a good play. Their coach was just like he was crushing to start, and then like he had like a 30-yard run. He didn't look to get hurt on it or whatever, and then the coach just like took him out and put in like their power back and threw every play. It was super infuriating watching the game, but that's college football for you.
And then Taylor got 10 carries and nuked.
I think he had 13 touches and like
that Minnesota guy only had 13 carries.
Yeah, well, he had 10 carries and 3 receptions or something.
Yeah.
Total touches
on my main team, but I never touches. Look, I just assumed he got like 30 carries.
No.
He got 13 carries.
That was the reason why I didn't have much, because I had a feeling that maybe I was going to get some too. So it's rough.
Well, he had like 7 touches at halftime and had like no points, and I was like, okay, perfect. And then second half, I think he houses an 80-yarder first play, and then I was like, shit. And then the next drive, it took him like 3 carries or 3 touches to get in the end zone. And then they kept him in at the end of the game for like his final touches. I was like, all right, can you like just get Major in there? Because he had like 100 and the 2 touchdowns in the bonus. And then they just kept him in. They were up 27-0, and Taylor was still getting carries. And I was like, what's the point of eliminating his carries in the first half if you just can do this? It was like the classic PJ Fleck move.
I can't believe that. You guys just stunned me. I would have never guessed that, honestly. I never watched Minnesota play, but I know how they run. I would have never guessed what you guys just said. That's
Six running backs got carries too. So like they
pounded them, right? Or
yeah,
am I wrong?
27-0. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of a closer game, but Nevada wasn't going to score. So
it was close at half, and then the second half they just like Nevada's. I wasn't watching just because I didn't really feel like watching, but I'm sure that Minnesota's offensive line just worn down.
Yeah, started running all over them. All right, let's hop in. We got Florida right out of the gate. One of the higher totals of the slate, though, and some pretty good plays in this game. But Florida is somehow -6.5 on the road, 58 total. I mean, Mississippi State must absolutely blow, Bruce. How are they +6.5 at home? What do you got here? Nice total, though, and some pretty good plays. So what do you got out of the gate?
Yeah, the main thing is Mississippi State goes at a crazy pace. They have I think they're top 10 in pace. So they're going to go fast. They got destroyed last week by Toledo of the MAC. I think it was like 42-12 or something like that. Let me pull that up. I was looking at it earlier. 41-17. They got beat at home by Toledo. So, the team looks terrible. Their defense is terrible. So yeah, it's a pretty good spot for Florida. I mean, if they're actually going to do anything this year, this is the spot. The problem is, they're splitting quarterback reps here. Running back, you can make a case for Montrell Johnson. I played him last week over Taylor and got absolutely smashed. But he got 50% of the snaps, and that game kind of blew out late. So he probably would have got more. So I think he's a decent play this week. I don't mind going back to him in tournaments because he's going to be low owned. I don't really want any of these Mississippi State running backs because they rotate a little bit. But I think you can play these Florida receivers. I played Badger last week, and it took a little bit to get going, but once he did, he scored a touchdown. He had 5 targets. DK also got 7 targets. Since Eugene Wilson's out, those numbers are going to go up. I think throughout the year. So. I have some interest there. And then Kevin Coleman and Trey Ore on Mississippi State, the tight end. Both of those guys are good receivers. So I don't mind those 2 guys. I think this game might be a little sneaky. I don't see a lot of ownership outside of the Florida receivers. So I have some interest there.
What do you think, Song?
I mean, this game seems like I should be higher on it than I am, with the total. I kind of echo what Bruce says here. I mean, to me, Chapin looks like a good play in a vacuum, kind of an up-tempo game. You wouldn't expect it with Florida, but these Florida totals have been way higher than expected this year. Even against Miami, I know we were all in on Restrepo when they were on the main slate against him, and he ended up absolutely smashing. Without Eugene Wilson, I think Badger becomes a super strong play here from the Florida side. He'd probably be my favorite play in the game overall. Sorry, here I'm going by my phone rankings. I need to figure out how to sort the rest of this stuff on Saber. But yeah, the running backs here to me in general seem, kind of bleh for the total. I feel like I should like them more than I do, and I would love for you guys to talk me into one of them, but I just haven't really found a way into my team. I think Badger right now is my favorite way to get exposure to this game. And then if you're going with a quarterback here, I don't absolutely love either one of them.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. The thing about Montrell Johnson is he should be really low owned too, just looking at the way the slate sets up. Mississippi State's as bad as we think they are, that could be a nice spot from Bruce. Nice low owned spot. So I'm assuming Mertz is the passer and DJ's the runner, just from looking at it. Can DJ just not throw at all?
He throws pretty well. Yeah.
How does he not play over Mertz if he can throw at all?
Because the coach is an idiot.
Yeah,
it's like they like Mertz for some reason.
Yeah.
DJ's way better.
So
man, it would be nice to. Is it something that could change in a hurry though? Because like that could be a nice play at 6,500 if we think in tournaments, if they think he could just have 1 week, especially versus a bad team. Maybe they just get it going early and he just stays in or something. Or is that not possible? If the coach is a moron.
I feel like the coach is dumb and like too dumb. B, like I feel they'd be more willing to get him going at home than on the road. It just kind of leads it to like, I mean, neither become great plays here.
I just can't believe I know that everything you just said about Mississippi State. I cannot believe Florida's 6.5 on the road. Florida's looked so bad to me so far this year.
Yeah, and if you look 2 weeks back when they played Arizona State, when Mississippi State did, Scadaboo ran for 262 against them. So we probably should like the running backs here.
I like your idea to go there. I mean, he's not going to be owned either, so that's a sneaky little tournament play. I'm with you. I think these receivers though from Mississippi State playing from behind. I don't know if I can play shape him, but all three of these guys, Coleman. You said one of them's a tight end. Who Traore's a tight end?
Yep.
Yeah, so him and then I have no idea how to pronounce that dude's name, but I remember he was playing. Where did he play last year? He played somewhere else. UTEP, and he was like a big play guy. I remember the name, but 3,800 for a big play guy, trailing script, and Coleman. I like these receivers, so I could see maybe a mini stack of the running game from Florida with the couple of these cheap receivers for Mississippi State. Let's move on. Ugly game next. We got Ohio State, their usual early season playing freaking Marshall. Marshall's got a tiny team total. Bruce, can we play any of these Ohio State guys in a spot like this?
Yeah, it's gonna be rough. Don't have a ton of love for anyone in this game. I think Jeremiah Smith or Egbuka would probably be my top two, like in tournaments, because I mean. Egbuka is still looking for his first touchdown this year. I think he's looked okay. And Smith has got big upside. We played him, the first couple of weeks he's been on the slate. So I forgot who they play next week. They have Michigan State next week, so not like a huge game. So yeah, I wouldn't see them pulling their guys super early. So yeah, I think you can play like the main guys like Howard and the receivers, and don't love playing the running backs just because there's two good ones. But Judkins, if I had to pick one, I just think he's better. But not a lot of plays in this game. I'm mostly gonna focus on the other games.
They sure got our boy Jeremiah Smith priced up in a hurry. It's tough to play guys like this in these blowout spots. I mean, sure they can get there, but there's just not enough pass volume when you're up. You got to get it right away, like the first couple trips. He definitely could do it, but 7,500 is a little tough. And I think Ibuka sucks more than people think he sucks. Schlong, what do you think about this game?
I'm like really with Bruce here. It's kind of a pass for me, especially in cash games. We get these like semi blowouts like early in the season, unlike the early slates, because it's week 4, third week fourth week doing the show. I'd be much more interested in this game in a previous week than this week. I think there's way better spots to attack here. I don't see any way where Ohio State does not blow them out. You're kind of like just hoping the guy gets there in the first half and, first 3 quarters, which some of them definitely could. I think Smith would be my favorite one to do it. I mean, he's shown that he can. I never play Ibuka because he catches like short passes, screens. He's kind of like, I hate making this analogy, but he's kind of like a Chris Godwin type to me in previous season. This season, Godwin's like really good in the NFL, but like in previous seasons, like, he would just be like, oh, I'm going to throw you a 5-yard slant, or like, kind of like a possession guy, not like he's like a grinded out type of guy, not like a big play, like, oh, you're going to do it on this possession type of guy. So yeah, I mean, big play guy here is Smith for me. and, kind of pass outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a ton of good points, and it's just I wish if one of these running backs is ever out, it's going to be a great spot. But the problem is they price everyone up too. Like they make it where you just can't click the button without just it feels more of like floor plays to me. Like Jeremiah Smith's going to get one touchdown, but is he going to get 2 or 3 that he needs? You don't know. You need to get a little lucky. Same with the running backs, but. Let's move on to I don't know about a better game total-wise, but Cincinnati and Houston, 3.5 Cincinnati, only a 48 total, which isn't the greatest in this spot. Man, I watched Houston. I don't know if it was last week or the week before. They looked horrendous to me.
Was it against Oklahoma or Rice?
It was Rice, I think. Okay. I can't. One of the games they were just – it was unwatchable how bad they were.
Yeah, they turned it on late against Rice, but yeah, they struggled early. I don't love a ton in this game other than our usual Cincy guys, Xavier Henderson and Royer. Royer's 3,800 and 20% target share, a couple touchdowns this year. I think you have to have some interest at that price, especially against Houston. So I like that. The running backs for Houston, I'm a little interested in. Rayshon Sanford starts, and Cincinnati's been getting gashed on the ground. We saw that with Reed, whatever week they played Pittsburgh. I think Houston wants to run the ball. That's just their coach comes over from Tulane, where they had Mekhi Hughes, and they just ran and ran and ran. Same kind of thing here. It's just what they want to do. So I think Kiner on the Cincy side, Sanford on the Houston side, and Donovan Smith always has that rushing upside, but he can't throw. So not a ton of interest there, but definitely like those 2 running backs and then Henderson and Royer.
Where's this Mekhi dude from?
Which one?
The Mekhi Muse or whatever. I thought I remembered that name.
Yeah, he's a Georgia guy.
He's from Georgia.
Yeah, he's a little guy. Very little guy.
Where he knew. How did he end up in Houston? Did he just stink at Georgia?
He hardly played. He got like punt returns and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a tiny little receiver.
He's only 3,900 though over Cincinnati, and he's got a decent projection, and he's from Georgia.
Yeah, he's cheap. Doesn't play a ton. He only plays like 30% of the snaps. Yeah, he's a slot guy, and they kind of been playing him at the end of games when they fall behind or when they get ahead. So I mean, he's not totally safe, but his
projection sticks out to me. I always like to see double-digit projection with the guys in the 3Ks. Especially hearing he's from Georgia. I take a little note to that, but
he's still getting targets.
I mean, to me, I kind of like the Cincy side of this one, just in terms of plays. Henderson to me remains underpriced. Like, I think he should be like an 8K type of receiver guy. He has big playability and he gets volume. It's kind of what you're looking for in college. I don't hate this game quite as much as the total would indicate, just because I think there are some pretty good individual plays. Bruce brought up one in Royer. 3,800 is too cheap for him. I mean, we were all over him against Pitt. Obviously, that's a way better matchup at the same price, but I think he's still in play here for sure at cheap. I don't love a ton cheap this week. So, he kind of makes some things fit that you really can't get without like a 4K and under receiver. So I don't mind him at all. I think Kiner's due for a big game. I'm not sure if it's going to come here or if it's the absolute best spot to play him. But, with a 5,200 price, it's not like you need like 103 touchdowns. Like, if you get the bonus and a touchdown, you're playing for 5,200. Like, no matter what. And it's not like, you don't have Ollie Gordon to fit in he has a really tough matchup, but I don't think you have guys to force in at running back this week that have such a high raw projection as to where it's like, oh, you need this guy to get 25, 30 for him to be optimal. So I don't mind him for cheap. Quarterbacks in this game, I think there's better spots for him, to be honest. I'd rather pick out an individual play.
Yeah, I mean, you guys bring up good points. Usually I don't like smaller totals, 48. I mean, 48 isn't low 40s.
It plays.
It's low. And you got a lot of guys that have upside. I mean, Henderson's one of the best receivers fantasy-wise in the country. Kiner, we've seen big games. Royer, like you guys said, we were on him in big spots. He's Ohio State tight end. That's him, right, Bruce?
Yep.
I always like to double check as I go in on a guy because I could be wrong, but I remember that he looked good. I mean, I like moves too, so I like the cheap plays in this game. I'm not going to play Sorsby. I'm Wish Long. I don't like that, but I think you could play reasonably 2 Cincinnati guys and one. I like Muse at 3,900. The other, I think you could, and then spend up on a expensive stack somewhere. I do like this game more than I thought I would. Let's move on. West Virginia. Oh God, Kansas is another team I watched last week that just absolutely sucked on one of those weeknights. We got West Virginia's only -2 versus them, 56.5 total. Bruce, I hope you got some takes on this game because both these teams looked pretty bad to me last week.
Yeah, I agree. After that first quarter, everyone said no Jalen Daniels, no Cash, and then I think he didn't score again. He maybe scored one DraftKings point.
And he was bad in that game,
dude.
like real bad.
Yeah, man, it was rough to watch. He couldn't throw the ball at all. Wasn't running, and that's been the problem with him in the past is, he's gotten hurt and can't run. So, yeah, that's rough for sure. And then, Garrett Green only scored 20 for us last week. It's chalk. So he was okay, but definitely not enough. Milrow kind of doubled him up there. So, yeah, I mean, you can play a guy like Devin Neal, I guess, but tournaments only just because of the price, 7,400. I thought Donaldson looked good for West Virginia last week against Pitt, but it was Pitt, so you kind of take that with a grain of salt.
Don't talk about our Pitt squad. They got heart every week.
Every somehow,
week they battle.
Jesus, I can't believe they're 3-0. That's crazy to me. Oh man. Just other teams keep giving it to them.
They got the worst quarterback ever, and he turns into Joe Montana in the fourth quarter every week.
yeah, man, it's fun to watch. I'll tune into every one of their games this year for sure because it's fun to watch down the stretch. West Virginia, their pass defense gives up a ton of big plays, as we saw against Pitt. They also gave up a ton to Penn State too, and that's hard to do. So I don't mind these Kansas receivers. It's just hard to get them right. They got Grimm and Arnold and Skinner. If I'm going to play one, it's Grimm, and he's priced up. So it's really rough to play one of those guys. But yeah, mostly staying away from this game. It's too hard to pick anybody that's gonna score well here.
Song, it's a pretty high total, but both quarterbacks are runners. Not really good in the pass game, running back priced up. What do we think?
So I don't really like receivers in this game. As Bruce said, it's super hard to pick out. You get 2 running quarterbacks. I know Daniels didn't run much. I kind of watched that game at a wedding last weekend because we had UNLV, and it was just super ugly after the first quarter. I mean, if Daniels isn't looking to run, I mean, there's no reason to play him for 8K. I think Green might be pretty chalky here. He definitely looks to run. He only got us 20 fantasy points last week, but he should have gotten more. Like, if you watch that game against Pittsburgh, he ran really bad to not get like at least 25. He could easily hit 30, 35 there, if you get some of these running scores that Donaldson had. So count me back in on Green this week. That being said, it's not like a crazy strong lead. I just think he'll be kind of chalky. If you want to get off him, like Donaldson was great leverage last week. I know our guy Wakey was talking about it and played him in some. I think he's good leverage once again. He's going to be unowned. I prefer him to Neal in the Kansas offense as a whole. But yeah, I think if you're getting exposure like overall in this game, I'd rather choose quarterbacks or running backs and don't play them together. Like, I would not play Green and Donaldson in the same team. I know did Donaldson catch one last week? I think he did.
I think they were on the ground, but he could have caught one.
Or it could. It's hard for me to pull up the stats.
Either way, he vultured him, like you said.
I don't. Yeah. I personally wouldn't play them together. But yeah, I prefer to have like either a running back or a quarterback or nothing from this game on either side.
Yeah, Donaldson did catch one.
He did.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, and even then, like going to show you like how anti-correlated these guys are. Like Green and Donaldson did not sniff being like in the optimal together. So like I would kind of like make a rule eliminating them.
You just need too much upside in college. It's tough to go to spot. I mean, you're going to need a lot of touchdowns to.
Well, it's like a Desmond Reed type of guy who can hit like an 80-yard pass or like, and they're cheap enough. You know, they're like $7K and $6K as opposed to like these prices here. So like there's a few guys I would do it with, but in general, definitely not.
Yeah, let's move it along. I don't have a ton to add to that game, but let's move on to another low total. One of the best running back plays on the slate, Clemson minus 18, only a 44 total. But man, is this a chalky spot for Mr. Maffa, Bruce? What do we play him? Do we have pivots? It looks tough for him not to do well in this spot.
Yeah, it's such a great spot for him. I was trying to pull up the Tennessee stats on the ground against NC State earlier this year, but it was a beat down as well. I think they had maybe 250 yards on the ground against this team a couple games ago. And then, you know, Clemson wants to run the football here. So I have big plans for Maffa. I'll probably have him in most of my lineups. I think he's probably the best running back play on the slate. I know he's going to be super owned, but I just think he has a huge game. I think, man, I hate it, but the receivers for Clemson, I think Tyler Brown's going to be out for them. So, you know, they have some cheap guys here. Antonio Williams, Brenningstool, and Wesco. Wesco's their young guy. He had a long touchdown against App State a couple weeks ago, and you know, he looks like a dude to me. So I have some interest in him in tournaments. Yeah, not a lot of interest on the NC State side. Their quarterback's out, McCall. He stinks anyway. So, but they have a new guy in there who doesn't throw the ball very well. So not really much interest in Concepcion or one of these other receivers. Even though Dakari Collins is making a homecoming revenge narrative there, as he played at Clemson before. But yeah, just Maffa for me here, and maybe one of these Clemson receivers in tournaments, just because they're missing a guy.
So these are the spots I sometimes like to leverage a little bit with quarterback and receivers when I know a running back in a low total is going to be like 60-70% owned. I just can't do it in a 44 total though. A Schlog, is there any leverage potential, or do we just play Maffa? What do you think?
I mean, if you want leverage, I personally would not play Klubnik and like multiple receivers. I just don't think there's gonna be enough points to go around. You know, I feel like we've been playing Antonio Williams and Brenningstool for, you know, fucking years now. You know, Antonio Williams has done well for me in the past. Brenningstool to me is more of like a floor play than Williams. You know, I think Williams carries a little more upside. So I'd be more likely to go him than Brenningstool. I think both are playable in the spot. Maffa, I mean, he has to be the highest known player of the week, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, people have wanted to play him in bad matchups the entire season.
Yeah.
You know, I know Tony's been waiting for a spot to play him, and now he gets.
It just sucks that it's like this. I wish he was more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, even in a 44 total at 6K, like, I mean, Maffa, there's not tons of like elite value. It's not like past weeks where there's been like, oh, play these 4 or 5 guys and, you know, kind of fill out the rest of your team from there. It's a little more open this week, but I think Maffa is one of the few guys that it's just like, just hold your nuts and hope for 102. You know, at 6K, there's just tons of paths to him getting there. For those of you who haven't watched, I mean, he was splitting with Will Shipley last year, and, you know, Maffa is an absolute animal when he's out there and healthy. And, you know, I think this is just a spot where they, you know, get right spot for him where they just give him the rock and say, let's go. So I'd probably prefer to take an overweight stance on him. Like, I don't think you need to click the lock button on him, but he's probably, you know, one of the top plays of the slate without a doubt.
Yep. I mean, you broke it down perfect. And I just get annoyed about the pricing a little bit, because just say in a rhetorical sense, Maffa was 8K somehow and Klubnik was 6,200 and it was flipped. Like, then maybe you could leverage it. But I mean, 6K for Maffa, it's just the definition, just slam it in there to me. I don't know. It's still a low total. Clemson's kind of been bad. I mean, maybe something weird can happen. The problem is NC State sucks too. So, oh man, you're gonna have to get unlucky for Maffa not to come through for us here. I think if you don't play him, you want him to get like 18 or something. Like maybe he only scores once, gets 101 instead of like 120-3 or something. So I don't know. I'm with you guys there. I totally agree with everything you said. Let's move on to decent game. Arkansas, Auburn. What do we got for? I can't find it. It's okay. Bruce, what do we got? Arkansas, Auburn.
Yeah, I think maybe the second most owned players in this game, and it's probably going to be Taylor Green. That's going to be a tough fade because he's either going to throw 5 interceptions and do nothing at all, or he's going to run for 150 yards and completely smash. We saw him against Oklahoma State have a huge game, and he does have some upside here. So if you do decide to fade him, it's always a white knuckle ride for sure. Auburn's defense looks okay, so they did play New Mexico last week, and they have that running quarterback, Devin Dampier, who's pretty fast, and he's run for 100 yards a couple games, and they shut him down. I think he had like 30 yards on the ground. So, man, yeah, if you fade him, if you fade Green, you could be way ahead of the field here. I watched that game last week, and they played pretty well. It is New Mexico, but they did have a good game plan. I think Hunter, Jarquez Hunter, the Auburn running back, is a solid play. Kind of like just going to be a lower owned running back. I think he's going to be in that 20% range. So I think he's solid. 6,300. He's getting good carries. Good in the passing game as well. So I like him a little bit. And Jaquindon Jackson for Arkansas looks like he's good to go this week. He was probable coming in. So I think he's solid, getting 15 carries a game, 75% of the snaps too. So I think he's a good play in this one. Andrew Armstrong for Arkansas. I mean, he got 14 targets his first week back from injury, and then 12 last week. He's not super explosive, but when you're looking for a good PPR guy, I think he's your guy. He's priced up a little bit. He's probably going to need something in the same range of targets he's getting, and then and maybe even a score, 7K. So I like him though. He's a good solid receiver. I think he's an NFL guy, and I think that's pretty much it. I think our guy Haas is 3,200, so I always got to throw him in there every now and then. But these Auburn receivers, there's just too many of them. They rotate a ton, and I want to stay away from them.
Our boy Hoss the Boss had Wakey very tilted 2 weeks ago when he housed that long one. Our boy Hoss the Boss. But I agree with you. What happened with the shitty Auburn quarterback? Did he get hurt or just benched?
Yeah, they just benched him. They put in Hank Brown, who looks like he's more of a passer than a runner. He looked okay. I mean, nothing great. They played like the worst defense in football last week in New Mexico. So, yeah, he looked better than Thorne did, though. He just doesn't have as much upside.
Yeah, I mean, Thorne was tough. I will say one thing about Taylor Green, though. So he looked really good the first game or two, and then last week he started to go back to the Boise Taylor Green a little bit. If you, at least for me, when I have an eyeball test of a guy for multiple years, I'm not going to let 1 or 2 games trick me into thinking he's better than he is. This guy is not good. Don't get me wrong, DFS wise, he can definitely throw big games up there with his running ability, good weapons. But man, it's an interesting spot as chalk for me. I think you can leverage a little bit with the running game, Jackson, like Bruce was saying. Schlong, what do you think about Taylor? I know he's a good DFS play. Chalky, though, where do you stand?
I mean, I'm always in the realm of play more chalk than less. Just like I think everyone's going to play him on their cash team. So like that automatically to me makes Jackson a great play. I think one of them succeeds here. I don't respect Auburn's defense enough to the point where I think one of them doesn't. I just wish Jackson was priced a little lower. Like, you've gotten some great leverage on Jackson the last couple weeks, like when Taylon's been like absolute chalk. Back when he was low 6Ks, low 7Ks is a little tougher to get there, but it's the same thought process. I think one of them will do well here. And you bring up a good point. Like, we've seen Talon at Boise for years, and you finally get him with a better coach and a better system, better surrounding personnel. Auburn's still not like a cake puff matchup. Like, if you told me Talon got like 12 points here, I wouldn't like say you're absolutely crazy. And in like an absolute chalk play, I kind of look for a little more than that. So I'm more hesitant to play him than some other chalk, but I do think he's a good play. I think Arkansas is a good play as a whole. I would personally try and fit at least one of these guys in my team. Like, I don't really see them scoring like 14 points or like 17 points and like both of them busting. So I'd probably try and fit one. I wouldn't like make a rule to fit one, but I think they're two of the better plays here. This is one of my favorite games for points in general. Kind of like both offenses. Auburn side of the ball, it's much harder. They spread the ball at receiver. They switch to a quarterback. It's but he also doesn't run at all. If you told me Hank Brown got benched, I wouldn't be surprised. So I think that's kind of a hard click. I don't hate it in tournaments, to be honest, because I do think Auburn can put up some points here, but I kind of struggle to see where it's going to come from outside of Hunter. I do like Hunter as a running back play. I think there's two running backs. We talked about Maffa. I think there's two that will be absolute chalk. So, obviously you can play three running backs. You can get off one of them. I don't think Hunter's a bad play here.
Yeah, I mean, you guys bring up a ton of good points with this game. You do need some exposure. Like, if you're not playing Chalk, Talon, and Armstrong, I mean, Armstrong's a great play too. You just have to play Jackson to me. I wouldn't even totally hate it if you played Armstrong and Jackson. Those price points are tough, but they do have upside, and they could get a ton of volume. And then Hunter, I think Hunter's a decent play the other way too. So you need exposure to this game, in my opinion, too. So I don't have any disagreements with you guys. Let's get to the next game. Man, UCLA has been so freaking bad this year. LSU is minus 21, 56 total. LSU looks decent. UCLA just looks awful. Bruce, what do we got here?
Yeah, I agree. I think UCLA is terrible. I think the total has gone up in this game for sure. I think maybe it gone up like 3 points or so. So definitely have some interest here. I thought LSU looked good second half last week against South Carolina. They're going to pass the football. I think they kind of discovered a run game late in that one. This Durham guy looked pretty good on the ground, and he's cheap. And I think they like him. He scored a couple touchdowns, and against this UCLA defense, I don't know how they're going to stop him. They got blown out by Indiana last week. Wasn't even close. I think it was at Indiana or at UCLA as well, which there's probably like 12 people in the stands. But they do have, I love Nussmeier. I think they're getting Chris Hilton Jr. back as well at receiver, another deep threat guy. So should be able to stretch the field for Lacey and Daniels. I love all those guys. The running backs, hard to play, but when you have Josh Williams and Durham there for cheap, I don't mind those guys because I always love a cheap running back that could score. This Durham guy looked really good. I don't know where they found him from. I had never heard of him before last week. I have some interest in those guys. But other than LSU, I don't want any of this UCLA side, even though they have Eric Bieniemy running the offense. It's looked horrible. They want to pass the football, but I don't think Garbers is that guy.
Schlong, what do you think?
I think UCLA is absolutely garbage. I kind of worry about them being able to stay in this game. I do want to like some of these LSU pieces against them. I think Nussmeier is a pretty solid play here. He ranks up there with like I'd rather play him than like, I don't know, like a Will Howard or Klubnik. I just think he has more upside and a better floor here. Like LSU's passing offense a good amount here against UCLA. They should be able to do pretty much whatever they want. Um, it's kind of tough to find a pairing for him that's not super expensive. I mean, obviously, like you would want to get to Lacey, but he's what 8-1 here in this spot. I really don't think he's going to be owned. I kind of like that pairing for tournaments. I wouldn't get to Lacey in cash personally. I think he's a little too expensive here for that, and there's other receivers cheaper that I like better. But yeah, Nussmeier Lacey would be my favorite pairing here. You can take a shot on some of these LSU running backs. I just struggle with the split, being able to pick my favorite one. I mean, I would say Josh Williams if I had to pick, but I don't really love that, and probably rather take some extra shots on Lacey here.
Yeah. So the thing about Nussmeier, and I'm glad Schlong brought up that price point, that all those other quarterbacks in that range aren't necessarily in play. One of the nice things about Nussmeier, even though he's more of a passer, I mean, they have a lot of receivers that can theoretically do it for you. Obviously, Lacey at 81, but CJ Daniels' price point at 5,600 looks very light to me. I think he's got upside. He's got 30-point upside to me at 5,600. Mason Taylor, Aaron Anderson, and then you said Hilton's coming back too. I mean, you're loaded with pass catchers. So I don't usually do it in college, but you could double stack up Nussmeier and have all kinds of upside if you run pure with that. And even though UCLA's been bad, God, I haven't had any just weird takes today, but I think you could play TJ Harden a little bit. He's caught 4 and 5 balls. He could catch like 6 or 7 dump offs playing from behind against this LSU team that I don't remember who did LSU play last week. So their defense did not impress me, whoever they played.
South Carolina. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, South Carolina, the dude with goggles and the other dude were running all over him. I mean, yep. I think TJ Harden is one of the sneakier running back plays of the whole slate. Not necessarily just on the ground, though. I literally think he could catch like 6 or 7 passes for 40 yards. All of a sudden, you're in double digits without a touchdown and rushing. So I don't know. That's definitely a tournament play, but like I could see that being a tournament build for me. The double stack from LSU, Harden on a run back. That's just a weird tournament stack that I'll be honest, I don't hate as much as I should in this game because UCLA's been bad.
It's a new offense for UCLA, so it could start clicking at any time. When Bieniemy was in Kansas City and Washington, he always threw to the running back. So that seems like a solid play.
All right, let's move on to one of the best games, maybe the best game of the slate, fantasy-wise. Texas Tech, Arizona State, 3.5 spread, 59 total. Lots of really good plays here, in my opinion. Bruce, what do we got?
Yeah, I agree. This game is really, really solid. I think our guy Scadaboo is gonna run all over these guys, and that's kind of the problem that you have is that Arizona State is a slow football team, one of the slowest in the country. So if they're grinding out run plays, and just getting first downs that way and just slowing the ball down, this game could fail to live up to expectations for sure. We've seen that in college football. That's some teams just grind the clock, and Arizona State's one of those teams. They run the ball 70% of the time, and this Texas Tech defense is horrible. So I love Scadaboo in this game. I think he has a huge game here, and they do have DeCarlos Brooks back. I think he'll get still some carries away from Scadaboo, but not a ton. He always gets hurt. So and then our guy Taj Brooks is also in this game. So he's priced up, but upside is huge for him. It is at Texas Tech. It is a day game, so the crowd won't be as rowdy, but they definitely pack that place out usually. So a lot of tortillas flying around. They love to throw those. And the receivers for Tech are the ones that I really want to play. I think Josh Kelly is underpriced even at 6,500. Eakin at 5,700, and then Caleb Douglas, Florida transfers, 4,100 starts. and getting 6 targets a game. He looks the part too. Another guy's Jalen Conyers. He actually played for Arizona State last year and transferred in. Big tight end. And I think he threw a touchdown pass last week, maybe it was the week before. So I can see him, doing big things at 4K as well. And Jordan Tyson on the Arizona State side. I think that's the only receiver you can play for Arizona State. His target rate is crazy. Target share is 31%, and has a touchdown. I think they throw the ball down the field to him, and he's the only one I could play on that Arizona State side.
Slong, nice game here. Taj Brooks is my favorite running back, even more so than Maffa. I just find myself needing a spend-up running back a little bit. He just looks like a slam dunk to me, but what do you got, Slong?
I think there's, kind of 3 stud running back plays on this slate that I really want to get. 2 of them are in this game, Scatterboo and Brooks. If you can get them in Maffa, it's kind of the nuts at running back for me. And, it's pretty doable this week just because there's not like a, oh, you have to play this guy type of like receiver. Like there's not like a Milrow you really want to get to at like 10K at quarterback. So I think that's going to be kind of a chalky build to play both running backs here, to be honest. So like, if you want to get a little different, like you could fade Brooks or you could fade Scatterboo or just like not play them together just because, Arizona State runs the ball so much. Like I could see this being like a 30 carry Scatterboo, like, 150 and 2 touchdown type of game without Tech like getting a ton of love here. That being said, I mean, the Tech receivers here are pretty solid. Like I think Josh Kelly, I would personally rather have Henderson, but I think that's like a pretty big discussion. Mid 6s, it kind of pushes down guys like we had talked about like Andrew Armstrong and whatnot, like Jeremiah Smith type of guys. I think they're kind of like it in the mid 6K range. If you do want to like pay up for some receivers this week, I think guys go down to like secondary pairings like that, as opposed to like the 8K type of pairings of like Lacey and those other guys. So yeah, I think it's a pretty tough game to get away from. I'm pretty heavy on the running games here, and my lineup's likely to reflect that.
Yeah, I wish I could disagree with you guys in some of these spots, but it just looks really good. 2 of the better running back plays on the slate. You do have some pivots you can get to for sure with the receivers from Texas Tech and Arizona State, but man, the running backs are just slammed. Scatebo, or what? How you say it? Scatebo?
Scatterboo.
Scatterboo has been so freaking good for what feels like 4 years now. I still remember him on that slate last year that went till like 3 a.m. or something. I was rooting on this guy, but I like this game a lot. Tough to get away from it. You guys bring up a bunch of good points. Let's move on. Much worse game, Notre Dame, Miami, Ohio. I mean, Bruce, sometimes you find me some dust balls in these games. What do we got?
Yeah, this game is gonna be terrible. Miami, Ohio plays super slow. They want to run the football as well. Actually, they've been behind so much. Their pass numbers are very, very skewed. They're actually 67% passing team so far this year, but they're second slowest on the slate behind Michigan. So yeah, they're going to want to slow the ball down with Blaine Gabbert, Blaine Gabbert's brother. Yeah, as quarterback. But yeah, I think Notre Dame runs the football on him, slows the game down. Jeremiah Love is 5,500 still. Ran all over Purdue last week, and I think he's looked great. Still getting the start, and he should get most of the snaps. Price may rotate in a little bit more for him as well, but it should be a blowout. I think Notre Dame handles business, even though they lost against the MAC already this year. I really like Love in this game, and I think some people are going to play Riley Leonard. And all he's good for is running the football. If you play him, I wouldn't pair him with the receiver. His receivers are pretty spread out production wise. So yeah, I would only go Leonard or Love if I'm going to play anybody from this game.
It's long. What do you think?
Kind of love her Love or bust for me. I think Leonard. He's projected kind of high owned. I think he's some of the worst chalk you'll see in college football here. Uh, Injury prone running quarterback in a blowout. I know he got there last week, which is the justification that people use for playing him. But I think that's more of an outlier than anything else. I think he's one of the best spots to be underweight on here. And if you're underweight him, I think you do want to be overweight Love. He's pretty variable here just because if he doesn't get it done, it's like playing those Texas running backs like week 1 or whatever. You didn't really know how many carries the top guy was going to get. It's a better spot than that for me in my mind. But you could easily see Love get 8 to 12 carries here and not get there. So it's not like a smash and in spot like Maffa or someone who's going to get 30 carries and 30 touches here. There's more variation to that, but yeah, I want nothing to do with Miami, Ohio. I'm not going to have any Riley Leonard shares from Notre Dame. My only exposure to this game would be Love.
Yep, totally agree with you guys again. And let's move on to the next one. We got Louisville. First time on the slate this year that I can think of. I don't remember these dudes. Louisville, Georgia Tech. Oh, we got our I'm assuming this is the Bama dude, Ja'Cory Brooks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He looks very tasty. Bruce, what do we got here? 4,800 for him? Oh, baby doll.
Yeah,
that's a lock. That's lock city right there.
Yep. The Louisville passing game is way underpriced this week. And that's what they do. They throw the ball. They're gonna pass.
How the hell is Ja'Cory Brooks 4,800?
Yeah, and their other stud, Chris Bell, is 4K. So,
where's that dude from?
He played at Louisville last year. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, they have Jeff Brom as their coach. They're going to pass the football. So that's there's a bunch of good plays in that passing game. They're 53% pass so far this year. They always have a good tight end too. If you remember his days back to Purdue, they have our guy Mark Redmond, former San Diego State great tight end that we'd always play on the late night slates, and we get fired up and at Redmond all the time. Yeah, that's the same guy. So I'm excited about playing him this week. He's 4,100, man, so many good receivers on this Louisville team, and the rotation's not crazy either. So I love Brooks and Bell, like you said. Tyler Shuck, the Oregon Texas Tech quarterback transfer, is been playing well. He just has to stay healthy. He got injured. Texas Tech transfer to Louisville. So I think he's a great play at 7,200, especially a guy that's going to throw the ball 30 plus times. On the Georgia Tech side, I think I never want to play Haynes King anymore just because of his average depth of target's so bad. He's throwing the ball basically parallel with the line of scrimmage every time. But he does run, so you got to always have those guys in your pool, unfortunately. But yeah, and then the Louisville running backs, Turner and Brown, both of those guys are solid. I don't think this Georgia Tech defense has looked great. Thought they looked great in game 1 against Florida State, but it was Florida State, so we found out what that offenses look like later on. And I don't really want any of these receivers on the Georgia Tech side. Their ADOT's pretty bad, other than Singleton, and he's probably a tournament play only at that price.
Song, what do we got?
Brooks has to be the lock of the week.
Why is he 4,800? Seriously.
We would play Jamari. He's basically Jamari Thrash. We would play Thrash
at even be 7K.
We would play him up to 9K last year, and this guy's 4,800. I would rather eat the chalk with him than any of these chalk running backs. That includes Moffa and Scadaboo. I think he's just kind of a plug and play here. Bell's cheap enough to play with him. You can get, the vast majority of the passing game for 9K total, 8.8. I think that's a pretty solid play here. I wouldn't mind playing both of them on the same team. It's not like one of them's 9K and needs 30 or 40 points to get there. So, just based on pricing, you got to Louisville pass game here. It's not the worst pairing with the quarterback either. So, I expect him to garner some ownership. But I don't hate that move. I think people just kind of play Brooks naked. I would not play like Bell without Brooks personally. I mean, Brooks is just, to me, the easiest play on the slate here. I think I think it's pretty simple. As Bruce mentioned, we haven't had Louisville on the slate this year, so hopefully that like tones down his ownership a bit. But I don't see any world in which I fade him. Georgia Tech side of the ball summed it up super well. It's Jamal Haynes or Haynes King. I want nothing to do with the Georgia Tech receivers. If you do run it back, choose which one you'd rather have. Personally, I'd rather have Jamal Haynes. Haynes King, I mean, he needs to like run. They need to get like first and goal, and he needs to run like 3 or 4, or not 3 or 4, 2 or 3 in. I don't really see him getting there in the air. I just always feel when I'm watching him, and I know there's no analytical basis behind this, but I just feel he's going to get hurt. Every time I see him play football, I'm like, this dude is like a walking injury, like waiting to happen. So I normally end up lower on him and higher on Haynes, the running back. So likely going to be the same this week.
Yeah. I mean, to me, this looks like the most mispriced game, maybe I shouldn't say of the seasons. We've had some bad ones, but I mean, you're telling me I can double stack for this cheap, like Bryce said. I mean, you're talking, even with the quarterback, you're talking $16K for a full 3-man stack against Georgia Tech. Good volume, big upside, and big floor, which is key when you're stacking like this. I mean, it looks just very slam dunky to me. And then, like you guys said, Georgia Tech, you can play like Haynes. You can play the quarterback king. I always get them confused because they both got Haynes in their name, and they play like somewhat similar, even though one's a quarterback, one's a running back, obviously. But and then the receivers are more expensive than the Louisville guys. It's crazy, but I don't have any different takes than you guys. Great spot. I will not be fading that spot. I can guarantee you that. So 3 games to finish with here. None of them are very good. We got Virginia Tech, Rutgers, I'm assuming. Bruce, what we got?
Yeah, Virginia Tech, Rutgers. I think our guy Drones has kind of looked like Taylor Green early on in the year.
Oh my God, he was bad that one. When he was the chalk that week.
Yeah.
We got so lucky to get what we got.
And then he got hurt. He could have gotten even more in overtime.
He went to overtime, right? Yeah. Then he
didn't even play. Yeah.
Yeah. He is at home this week, but man, I think this Rutgers defense is really good. So won't have much drones, and I think his ownership's going to be low. But man, he is a runner, so you always gotta keep him in the pool. My favorite play here is the Rutgers running back, Kyle Monungai. He's 7,600, so he's not going to be super owned, but man, he's a stud in my opinion. Every time I watch Rutgers, I think, man, last year anyway, I was thinking, man, why don't they give him the football more? Well, he's finally getting it. 23 carries per game, almost 4.1 yards after contact per attempt, which is elite, and he has 4 touchdowns this year too. So I think he's a solid play. Everybody wants those workhorse guys, and he's going to be sub 20% or so. So I have some interest there. Injury in this game, Bashel Tootin might be out. I know he's limited in practice this week, or not even practiced at all. So if he misses, you could get Malachi Thomas starting for 4K against Rutgers. It's not the best spot at all, but it is at home. So have to keep that in mind when building your lineups, I guess. It is a later game. So I like him. The only play in the passing game I really like is this Demir Miller for Rutgers. His stats look really good. I did a little research on him. He played, I think, at Monmouth, or one of those schools on the East Coast, and was like an All-American there. And he's getting 27% target share. I know it is Rutgers, so it's not the best, but he looks the part, and he's a big play guy too. So have some interest in him.
Schlong, what do you think? We got a few running back spots here priced up. That kind of fits with the roster build this week a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think Monunga is one of the better pivots at running back this week. I'm expecting Scadaboo and Brooks to be pretty chalky. I expect Scadaboo to be like more chalky. So like, if you want to get off him, like I think Brooks is even a good pivot, even at that ownership. I think Monunga is going to come in like pretty low owned. I think 15 to 20%, as Bruce said, is pretty much in line with where I expect him. And I think he should be closer to like 30 to 35, maybe even 40 here. It's pretty good. I mean, he's just an absolute workhorse. Like, there's not tons of them on this slate that you really want to play. You could say the same about like an Ollie Gordon type of guy. He's a little more explosive, but tough matchup again. And like, he's like crazy expensive. So I'd prefer to take the savings personally and go Monungai. I don't love Thomas here. As Bruce said, like Rutgers is not as soft of a matchup as you think. He's only in play if Teuton's out, obviously, but I expect I'll have a decent amount of exposure to these afternoon games. So like it creates like a ton of roster flexibility in my opinion. So like I'm not going to plan for Teuton being out, but if he's out, like I could see myself swapping on Thomas. Like he's not, even if Teuton's out, like he's not an absolute smash play at like 4K or something. Like he's a very solid play, but he's not like a nut like, oh, you have to play him to get this guy in your lineups type of guy. I think Drones is kind of interesting. As bad as this dude is, I'm a sucker for running backs that play quarterback, and he definitely fits that mold. I don't think anyone's going to be on him this week. I think he should have more ownership than he does. I'm not going to play him on my main team. Like he's not a cash play, but I think he's very solid in tournaments here, just due to his running upside. And like a lot of these guys have running upside, but he's going to be like the one of them that's like not owned at all whatsoever. So I don't mind him.
Yeah. Does Shiano coach Rutgers?
Mhm.
Is it him? I wasn't
Yep.
sure if he was back there. He's always been a hard-nosed guy. I like this Manon guy, or however you guys say. I remember him last year too. He was filling in for someone, and he freaking nuked towards the end. And
Yeah.
like you guys said, running
And
back
he had awful matchups. Like he played
Yeah.
super hard. I think it was against like Oklahoma or something like that.
in like
They would
low
just run
totals
this.
too.
Yeah, this guy would just run him into the line every single freaking play, and the guy played hard as hell.
Yeah, and he like crushed, and those are the things you need. And like I agree with Bryce though. Like at running back this week, if I pivot off some of the chalk, I just got to pivot to guys with a bunch of upside, or go like just crazy cheap and totally flip the build or something. But I don't think you need to do that this week with the way things are set up. Running back in this 7K range is going to be where it's won. So if you want to get Oscar Tebow, or fuck, I keep saying his name wrong, but it's a good pivot here, and I am with you guys. So if that Teuton dude's in, he's another guy in that same range, though, with a high projection that could be a pivot if he's in. Obviously, pay attention to that. So let's move on to the next one. We got Michigan and USC. Interesting matchup football-wise. I don't know if it's as good DFS-wise, but football-wise, it's somewhat interesting to me with the way these teams have started this year. Bruce, what do you got?
Yeah, definitely a real football matchup that's going to be interesting. I like that they're starting Orgy. Michigan is just because he's a running quarterback. I think USC's defense has improved a little bit, but they are going on the road here, so. Yeah, it'll be nice to see if they've improved enough. I thought they looked okay against LSU, and then if they can stop the run, be nice. I thought Michigan looked good on the ground last week, playing Mullings and Edwards. I thought Mullings looked really good. I don't want to play him at 7K and then Edwards at 8K though. That's crazy. But I think Woody Marks is in play at 7,500 just because he catches the ball. But yeah, it's hard to find anybody I want to play here. I think Orgy 6,700. If he's going to run the ball 20 times, I have a little bit of interest because he can't throw. He's not shown himself to be able to throw the football. But I think Orgy's okay if you're going to play anybody. But I don't want any of these USC receivers either. They're priced a little little up for kind of what their role is. Rotating a ton, just like in years past. So, and it looks like Loveland is questionable for Michigan. He's 6,600 too. So, I really don't want to play that. So mostly staying away from this game. It's everybody's priced correctly. Outside of Orgy, if he scores a couple times and runs for 100 yards, that's interesting. But yeah, it's mostly a terrible DFS game.
Schlong, I'm assuming there's no way you like something in this game, but surprised me.
Tournaments, I don't hate Orgy. He's basically a wildcat quarterback playing quarterback. If you haven't seen him play, kind of makes the rest of the team unplayable to me. And I don't want anything to do with USC coming into Michigan here. So, if you think Orgy doesn't split snaps here and plays the entire game, I think he's a pretty solid play at 6.7. Just because he's super live to throw for 150 in one or two and run for 150 in one or two. And, that could get it done at this slate at 6.7. So I really don't hate him. I absolutely hate everyone else in this game.
Yeah. I mean, these are the games I just never play people from. But I get what you guys are saying. A running quarterback always has upside in college. Another 7K guy that you can play is Woody. I mean, personally, I can't do it, but you could. So let's move on to the last game. Another really good football game. Two somewhat top teams, Okie State, Utah. Looks like a 1-point spread, too, 54 total. Good, solid game, Bruce. What do we got here DFS-wise, though?
Yeah, I think the big question is you go to Ollie again. He's 9,700, probably the toughest matchup they'll have this year.
You're going to be able to get him at 1% owned.
Yeah,
he's the spot where it's just oh, man.
Yeah, that's going to be painful for sure if you don't have him. And
how could you click him, though? I don't mean to, there's so many good running backs. If he beat you,
use SaberSim. Use SaberSim.
That's how you get him for sure.
No, and you put a minimum 10% Ollie is honestly how I'd approach it. It's so hard to hand click in Ollie this week.
Yeah,
with the lower projection than all the 7K guys too. Yeah. It's but you just know in these spots, here comes this 50 burger right up our ass.
Gundy's going to give him 50 carries if he's running it successfully. It's just a big if against a really good Utah defense.
Yeah, they're only giving up 10 DraftKings points to a running back so far this year. Even though this Faison guy last week ran for 100 yards against them for Utah State. So that's something at least. If you want to play Ollie, it is at home. So I have some interest in tournaments. It's just so hard to fit him in there. When you have those good 7K running backs there too, and it's really
those
tough.
7K. The problem for Ollie is these 7K. I'm always the one that likes Ollie in this spot, like I always have. But man, those 7K guys are in smash spots. It's really, really hard.
And he's at 10K. It's not like he's the same. It's not like Ollie would normally be 8,200 in this spot. It's just not to steal Bruce's thunder here. Oak State's just had these cake puff matchups for weeks now, with super soft opponents and super high scoring games. So all of these guys' prices are inflated to me. I mean, you need a Bowman last week. I never played Bowman. We always talk about how much we hate him. So I think all these guys are too expensive for me personally.
Yeah, the funny thing about that game last week, the Oklahoma State game, we even discussed on the show that Tulsa's giving up the most explosive plays through the air. And then Bowman was just throwing it up there, and they were catching everything wide open. So yeah, that was tough to watch, especially when we had Ollie and he's just slamming in the line, getting hit behind the line of scrimmage.
Right in the line of his ass all game.
His offensive line is so experienced, but they're small. They seem like they're undersized. They're getting pushed back. I don't know. He hasn't looked right either. It's tough, but yeah, I may have a lineup or two with him if I go multiples there on the main slate. But receivers,
college though, even though he's 2K more expensive than some of those guys, if he outscores them just straight raw points, it's at least live because you can make up points in other areas. So I'm not saying you're happy with it, but if he outscores those 7K guys straight up, you can just have different builds too. So you can I'll never fault you for playing freaking Ollie Gordon ever. So
yeah, I mean, guy won the Doak Walker Award last year, best running back in the country. It just hasn't looked right yet, and that can happen any week. So the receivers, these Oak State receivers, I think Stribling has kind of looked the best early on. Thought he looked great last week. I had a lot of Owens, of course. Still waiting for his breakout week. But I think Stribling's a good play again. Presley always, he has a good floor. It's gonna get double-digit targets likely. And then on the Utah side, it's hard because Cam Rising hasn't been in with his hurt hand. He could get hurt again at any time. And if Zach Wilson's brother comes in, they have no shot at hitting their upside there. So it's always difficult. I have some interest in Micah Bernard though. I think he looked great last week. He got injured late last year and missed most of the off season. So maybe he's just rounding into shape, and I think Oklahoma State is really soft against the run. Got 50% of the snaps last week, did Michael Bernard, and he is cheap, 5,800. So have a little bit of interest there as a cheaper guy. Oklahoma State's given up 26 points per game to running backs so far this year. So that's probably my under the radar play of the week. I think he's solid.
Love it. Slong, anything in this game?
I mean, we've been super high on Utah, as a team this whole season. So, Zach Wilson's brother is not the answer. I think we all know that, and I think their coaching staff knows it too. So, I think Bernard's a good play, regardless of if Rising plays or not. You either have a more successful offense and less share of the offense, or you have a less successful offense and more share of it. So, regardless, I think Oklahoma State's a decent matchup. They play fast. Their defense is okay. They're not good or anything. So yeah, Bernard's kind of it for me on the Utah side of the ball. And then Oak State, I mean, I'm not playing Bowman. I don't play him in good matchups. I certainly don't play him in bad matchups. Ollie, I think you jam in 10 to 25%, depending on how much you like him. I think that's a pretty overweight take on him. He can just break the slate anytime he plays. As Tony said, and it's a good point. You get cheap receivers. Say you play that Louisville stack you were talking about. It's super easy to fit Ollie in there with some playable guys around him. So he doesn't totally torpedo the rest of your teams to the point where if he gets 30 at 10K, that's not the absolute best outcome, but that definitely plays. So he's definitely my pool this week. Stribling's been kind of my guy this year for a bit. I just kind of think that Bowman likes him just because he's just kind of throw it up to him and let him go get it type of guy. So unless plays are designed for Presley, I think that's kind of who he defaults to with his arm strength. He's a really good football player in my opinion. So I'm always high on Stribling. I'm going to have significantly less of Oklahoma State's passing attack than I have all season in this matchup. Utah is just really, really tough. Don't love either of them, but I would choose Stribling for the price if I had to choose an Oak State receiver.
Yeah, I love Bryce's point too about Ollie. 10 to 25%. If you're playing 4 teams, play them on one. It's a great number because you don't need a ton. And I'm just telling you, I don't know how many years we've played college now with that gap in there, but I've won so much money playing these guys in these spots. I still remember some of the Alabama guys would just be in these spots where it would be tough matchups and they would just go nuke because it's still just no one's going to play him. How often can you get Ollie unowned? And it is hard to click. So my main team, I'd have a really, really hard time clicking him, but it's a perfect secondary team, 20 max, 150 max play where you can just get some in there. And when he goes for 50, you're going to win a lot of money. So it's just a great point. Let's finish up like we always do. Plays of the day. Bruce, you want to start us out?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a quarterback here. I'm going to go Garrett Nussmeier. My plays of the day have been getting destroyed here lately. I think 2 weeks in a row they've failed me, but maybe this is the week. I like
double stack or single stack with him.
I think I'm gonna double stack in a couple of tournament lineups. I love their passing game against LSU here, or
Schlong,
against
what we got?
UCLA.
I think I probably speak for us all. Ja'Cory Brooks, I just don't see how you don't play him this week. Even in large field GPP, I think he comes in around 50%, and that's 30 to 50% too low in my opinion. He should be like 7.5K here at a minimum.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I literally don't understand those prices in that game.
It's because they're not on the slate yet. It's like DraftKings has started pricing these teams that have been on the slate sufficiently, so I think you take advantage of it as long as they're doing it.
Yeah, and that's what I've always done in college. And you say it, just it's better to go too much chalk than too little to me, especially in college, because you just can't fade all these. Like, there's just too good of plays, and he's
Well, it's
one.
like play him.
him in
It's
balance.
like play him and Ollie.
Yeah.
Like you're automatically getting different ends. Like I'd rather do that than like play like a cheap running back and like a crazy expensive receiver.
With unlimited upside with that combo too. Like, I mean, Ja'Cory could get you 30 plus. I mean, it's just an absolute smash. But I've been waiting for I had this play of the day bookmarked, so I'm excited about it today. And it's actually going to be two guys because running back's absolutely loaded. It's a pivot off of Scatibo or however I keep butchering it. How you say it again? I keep saying it wrong.
Scataboo.
Scott, I'm going to say it wrong because I'm going to be off of his ass, but I keep saying it the other way like a donkey. But I think you can play Levitt with Jordan Tyson, 8,500 and 5,800. Levitt, he's only been in the low 20s all 3 games, but they've also been playing a little bit ahead. Maybe they get down on the road here. It turns into a shootout. I think there's a lot of upside to pivot. Don't get me wrong. I still like the running game too. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of good running back plays on this slate. I need to pivot off one of them. Why not pivot off this game and play Levitt and Tyson, run it back with the running game the other way for Texas Tech? Makes a lot of sense, and that's definitely my play of the day, the combo. And you got 2 quarterbacks, which is nice with our plays of the day. Bruce said double stack it up. That's a nice little basis for a core, right? We should even put that up on the site as the show core each week because I like that. I like our overall core there. Double stack it. There's a lot of upside in that. So anything else, boys, before we take off for another week?
Nope. Great show as always. Enjoy it every week.
What else we got on the agenda tonight, Schlong, over there?
Well, it's about 9:30 now. I got the cash show with Mangone. That doesn't normally take a while on Fridays, but probably hit the hotel bar, have some drinks. If my wife and mom and sister are still out in the town.
You gave that card. They might not be back. You might be solo tonight.
I mean, I might not have a choice but to drag them out of a bar somewhere in an hour or two. So we'll see how it goes.
All righty. Another good week. Everyone, good luck this weekend. We'll obviously be in. The good part about doing this show on Fridays, we're in the Discord tomorrow up to lock with the news. Bruce is obviously always in there grinding. So we got a slate tonight, slates tomorrow night, NFL, obviously. Check it all out. And we will see you guys next week.